I have 2 children from a previous relationship. Danielle, 11, and Elliot, 7. My husband John loves them as his own, but also has a 15-year-old daughter, Alicia, from a previous relationship. We've been married 4 years, but I've only seen her a handful of times, firstly because she spends her time with her mother, and also because she attends an elite boarding school for girls, so the opportunity to see her is very rare. Over the summer I and the kids went on holiday to Spain for 3 weeks. John was supposed to come but he was snowed under with work commitments. However, when he told Alicia, she said she's always wanted to go there and she begged him to convince me to let her come, which I did, but her mom had to pay for her flight/place in the hotel. It all went well at first, but a problem started when it turned out Alicia didn't pack anywhere near 3 weeks worth of clothing, meaning that initially, she had to borrow some of mine, which were oversized, and then when we went shopping, I couldn't afford anywhere near the sort of clothing she likes, and she cried at having to make do with cheap stuff. She then phoned up her mom crying saying I was being unfair to her for making her wear clothes that she wasn't used to. She also continuously tried to persuade me to buy her alcohol. We had another row when she met some boys from the same country like us in a restaurant/bar. She was cuddling with one of them, and when Elliot was tired and we needed to go home, she tried to stay with them and go back to where they were staying. As her guardian on the trip, I was not prepared to allow her to go home with a group of boys we'd never met in a foreign country. She threw a huge tantrum at me about this when we got home, saying what's the point in coming on holiday if I won't let her have fun. Finally, Alicia was sulking throughout the journey home and took to trying to antagonize Danielle, asking her if she's ready to have no friends once she starts secondary school, calling her ugly and things like that. I stopped this immediately and she sulked even more. When we got back I told John how difficult Alicia had been throughout the trip and said that I wouldn't take her on a trip with me again. He insisted that none of what she did was that bad, but I insisted on speaking to Alicia's mom on the phone and telling her everything her daughter had done. She defended her daughter completely and insisted that everything she did was what teenage girls do. I was shocked, but after John and Leanne, his ex, spoke over the phone he has been defending her too, insisting that she's really nice if I get to know her and things like that. I've not said that I'll never be in the same room as her again, I've just said that I won't take someone that badly behaved on holiday with me again, but John says that I'm overreacting and that I should give her another chance, which I have no intention of doing. Update, thanks for all these responses, they gave me a lot of food for thought. While I still stand by my decision and won't take Alicia on holiday unless John is there with me, a lot of people said that I haven't taken enough time to actually get to know my stepdaughter, which to be honest is true, but as said above there are reasons for this. Even though she's a very smart kid, girls have to pass very difficult entry exams to go to that school even if their parents can afford it. I think there are better ways to bring out her potential than boarding school. It is of course Leanne's decision, but it isn't something I'd have chosen for her or any of my kids. As some of the comments here have suggested, it is entirely possible feels unloved and also unwelcome in our household, which isn't true at all, which is why I told John that I will make the effort to get to know Alicia properly, and actually suggested that we invite her here next time she's home from boarding, and hope to spend as much time with her as I can. Not the idiot, clearly you have no parental influence over her. If you would have given in to letting her leave with unknown men and something happened, they'd never forgive you. Next time there is a family trip, make sure one of her parents is with her to make decisions and spend the money she insists on. I'd be upset if that were my daughter/son. Your husband probably just didn't want to cut any strings he's allowed to have with his biological daughter. Not the idiot, you probably shouldn't have been put in that situation. To begin with, if your husband was unable to go on the trip, it immediately put you in an awkward and unenviable position. It sounds like Alicia has been spoiled by both her parents and doesn't hear the word no very often, if at all. She has proven that she has both her birth parents wrapped around her finger and can manipulate both of them with ease. The fact that neither of her parents sees anything wrong with anything she did tells me that they are more concerned with complying with her every whim than they are with actually parenting her. Not the idiot. If your husband wants Alicia on holiday with you again, then I'd suggest the only way that's happening is if he comes along that time, and disciplining her is his job. Then he'll be able to see precisely how big of a deal it is. Or if you're not comfortable with that, it is within your right to just say no. Nobody can make you take her. I completely adore my husband, but I don't think he'd be a good father. My husband recently got a puppy to keep me company when he deploys, and because he's been wanting a dog for a long time and he's using the dog to prove he can be a good pet parent to him, so I would open up more to the idea of having kids with him. I know dogs and kids are completely different, but even with this puppy he's showing selfish tendencies that I don't like or think are fair to the puppy. I basically do everything for this puppy. My husband always groans and complains if I ask him to do something simple with the dog, like take him for a walk with me. My husband just likes the idea of having a dog but not the work. The other day I finally managed to get him to walk the dog with me, and we were walking for about 10 minutes and he said, "Let's go back home." I said 10 minutes is not enough for him for a walk and he needs a little more than that, and he said that I can take him by myself then because it's my dog. If he can't even take care of a dog, then I don't think he's fit to take care of a child. He's too selfish. My in-laws say I need to accept it and give him a child since it's my womanly duties to make him happy, and they want grandchildren/cousins for their kids. My husband rarely helps around the house or with the dog, which includes not making sure the dog has food or water, not remembering to take him out or give him his medicine, and not teaching him any tricks or commands, just to name a few. I feel he just likes the idea of having kids but not the work, so I'd be stuck doing everything. We talked about the idea of kids before getting married. I do want kids with him eventually, but think he's too selfish for one now. Also, we're both 20, which I think is too young for kids. They're the classic young 20s, marry fast because military couple, and this young woman is complaining because her husband is doing what lazy, 20 years old men do. Nothing. And of course, the husband who will eventually away want to knock up the wife, so she can be miserable on her own. This thing is so typical. The reason question is, why the hell did she marry someone she didn't know? Young marriages boggle my mind sometimes. Yeah, it sometimes works. But let's be real, it's usually a train wreck waiting to happen. Not the idiot. I think it's pretty clear that absent some major changes, your husband will not help with kids. My husband is very involved with our daughter and was awesome during the newborn stage, and we were both still exhausted all time. Multiply what you're doing for the puppy by 1,000. It's no joke, and you need to know he'll be a help, not a hindrance. Also, ignore your in-laws, their opinion is irrelevant. Seriously. While he may be selfish, at 20, it's more likely immaturity. OP, please don't have babies until you're at least 27. Are you going to college or trade school while he's enlisted? If not, please do yourself and possibly future babies a favor by making sure you can be financially independent should it become necessary. Hi all, I'll try to make this as brief and unbiased as possible. I met my best friend a year ago. We have always used protection, contraception. I have no idea what happened, but I still managed to get pregnant. I immediately decided to get an abortion. I asked my best friend if he could come and support me through the procedure. He said he didn't want to take a day off. Full disclosure, if it gives insight, he works from home taking contracts as a programmer, makes $150K a year, and can take off whenever he feels like it. So whatever, he told me he wasn't coming and that I had to take care of it. This was a week ago. The procedure was yesterday and it went as well as can be expected. I went to his house afterward and he told me he had a surprise for me. It was a small, child-sized bowl with cutesy animals on it. I thanked him but mentioned that this was maybe not the best gift as I just had a tough day and was emotional at best. He then told me he had a wonderful day with his family and proceeded to show me a video of his father and nephew doing egg hunts together and the father teaching the nephew to wash his hands, etc. So I immediately started bawling because I just terminated a pregnancy. It wasn't wanted and I don't regret it, but it doesn't mean I feel sensitive about it. He became very cold and asked me to stop crying, saying that I was overreacting and he was just trying to make me feel better. He didn't apologize and we went to bed upset. I woke up in the middle of the night because I was cramping and sore, so I went on his couch and had a good cry. Apparently, that woke him up because he came to ask me if I was going to continue crying for long and told me to turn off the lights as soon as possible because I was being inconsiderate. I feel like he doesn't care about me and is being disrespectful. He says it's the pregnancy hormones making me whiny. You don't have to do a Google search to be empathetic towards someone who just went through a bad situation. This dude is dating someone 8 years younger and isn't emotionally available where it counts. Either he's a willfully ignorant man-child or he's a sadistic prick who is pushing her buttons on purpose. I'd guess it's the first one since he just didn't want to take a day off for a situation he helped create. Holy crap, not the idiot. The fact that he wouldn't come with you is heinous, but to be completely jerky about understanding what you're going through is another. Question: was he supportive of you having an abortion? Or did he want to keep the pregnancy? In no way would that be an excuse for his actions, but more wondering if he's harboring some regret. I can't imagine any other reason, aside from him being a gigantic idiot, for the inappropriate gift or rubbing in your face the nephew stuff. Not the idiot, your best friend seems to lack basic human empathy, which is quite frankly the mother of all red flags. Your BF can feel however he wants about abortion. Maybe to him, it wasn't a big deal, but an actual empathic human would realize that this procedure happened to you, someone he loves, and that he should care about, and be sensitive to your emotions about it. To be honest, he sounds cartoonishly insensitive at best, and downright narcissistic at worst. I think it might be time to seriously ask yourself if this man sparks joy. I had to go to the emergency room after being sent there by my primary care doctor, as I was experiencing some really weird symptoms. A strange rash on my body, my blood pressure and pulse were super high, and I had a pretty high fever. I routinely take pain medication for a disorder I have that caused me to have 3 surgeries, one of which complicated things even more. Naturally, this is all on my chart, so the hospital was aware of my medication usage. I've had to deal with doctors assuming I'm an addict before, but I figured it would be fine that time because I was literally sent to the hospital. My doctor even called ahead to let them know he was sending me there, and had visible symptoms that had nothing to do with meds or med use. However, the doctor refused to take me seriously and ended up leaving me in a room with the door closed for 6 hours as my symptoms got worse and worse. At one point during this, a nurse came in to put in at 4. As she was doing this, she informed me that the doctor was taking his time to see me because he assumed I was in withdrawal. That was ridiculous because I had even brought and shown him my full bottle of medication. The pills were stamped too, so he could see what they were and that I wasn't trying to pull off some sort of half-baked lying scheme to get meds, so he'd know it wasn't withdrawal. I got pissed about that and asked the nurse to please let the doctor know that I was not in withdrawal. They could test my blood and find out for sure if they didn't believe me. She ignored what I'd said and instead responded with, "You know, these sorts of issues happen a lot less to people who find ways to fill their days and be productive. You should really consider getting a job." To be clear, I have a job. A full-time job with a major tech company. Her comment was the cherry on top of an already bad experience. I flipped out and said, "Idiot, I have a job. It's full-time with X company, and I probably make a hell of a lot more than you do. And I don't treat my clients badly like you do." I definitely raised my voice as well. I admit that was probably over the line. But she was making assumptions about me and treating me like garbage. My friend who was with me at the emergency room got really embarrassed, called me a fool, and left. I ended up finally being admitted to the hospital after a few more hours, and after a few days, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition that was causing all of my symptoms. I've been considering reporting the nurse and the doctor. I know I told them off, but I feel like I was justified. My friend who was with me still thinks I'm an idiot for blowing up at the nurse and thinks reporting them would make me an even bigger idiot. I really truly believe I was justified, but I want some other opinions before I potentially damage 2 people's careers. Everyone's the idiot here. Being an idiot to someone who deserves it is still being an idiot. That doesn't mean that you should let people walk all over you, but you could have told the nurse she was wrong and inappropriate without calling her names or pulling rank with the salary comments. I think that reporting them for this is absolutely justified. But hey, if it's any consolation, you were less of an idiot than I would have been. Everyone's the idiot here. There's no need to pull the comment about how you make more than her. That's just fueling the fire with fire. My sister is a nurse, and while I doubt she would ever accuse someone of being an addict, she says they are the worst patients to have. They lie about their pain just to get medicine and take up valuable time and resources. This might have been her mindset, not excusable, but imagine multiple people like that making your life/job harder every day. Not the idiot, this goddamn med epidemic label has seriously compromised medical care. But even an addict in WD is entitled to quality medical care minus the judgment. Medical professionals are taught to leave their judgment at the door. I'd report her in a heartbeat to maybe save the next poor patient she judges. My car was shaking when I braked from high speeds. My dad told me it was the rotors and I believed him, but the deal I got the car from has free diagnostics, so I took it there. So my dad was right, it was the rotors. My friend had just done the brake pads like a month ago, but not the rotors. So the dealer guy said it'll be $650 to get all 4 rotors shaved down and an oil change, synthetic oil, so oil change is like $90 itself. I said okay. He calls me like an hour later and says his guy started cutting the front rotors and it wasn't going to work, so they needed to replace all 4 for $850. I asked if they cut the back ones yet and he said no. I specially said do not cut the backs ones, do as little as possible. He calls me again and says his guy cut a back rotor and it wasn't going to work, so I needed to replace those 2 as it was too uneven now. I said I told you not to cut those and he was like I was just trying to help you out. I'm fuming at this point, go to pick up my car. It's $750 for the 2 front rotors and the oil change, when they had quoted me $850 for all 4 and the oil change. I pay and leave. My car is literally not drivable, it's so shaky. I bring it back and tell him the car is dangerous at this point and it needs to be fixed. We get into and he's like I'll do the back rotors for free labor, but it's $200 for the rotors. I tell him I'll get a lawyer cause I'm not giving him literally another penny. I paid $750 for a car that's worse than before. I ask for the manager and eventually, they agree that it was their mistake and they'll eat the back rotors. Pick the car up the next day and it's good. I told my parents and they said they're proud of me, but my one friend said I was a Karen. Not the idiot and NTK. I hate the whole Karen thing anyway. A woman advocating for herself, asserting herself is always going to freak out some people. It doesn't make you a Karen or a bad person or whatever, and even if it does, so what? This shop thought they would pull a fast one on you, probably because you are a woman, and you called them out on it. Never take a car there again. Not the idiot. Also going to assume you are a woman with the self-identifying Karen and mechanic attitude and assume further that he thought he knew more than you since you're a woman and tried to pull one over on you for the price. I'd ask for money back because they defied what was asked and still had the audacity to charge for the work if I read this right. Not the idiot, great job standing up the dealer. They thought they could talk some car lingo and get you to agree to get unnecessary work done, but you knew enough to know they were messing with you. Any win against the dealer is most definitely not Karen territory. It's more like a victory against the man territory.